आइए कॉर्पोरेट रडार में सबसे पहले बात करते हैं matrimony.com की। करीब 1200 करोड़ रुपए से ज़्यादा के मार्केट कैप वाली कंपनी है ये, और फिलहाल शादियों का सीज़न हम देख रहे हैं एक बार फिर से शुरू हो गया है। इसके अलावा गूगल ने कई ऑनलाइन ऐप को प्ले स्टोर से बाहर किया और फिर इसे वापस भी ले लिया है, और यही प्रमुख कारण है जिसकी वजह से आज ये कंपनी हमारे रेडार पर है। तो मौजूदा माहौल कैसा है, इस खबर पर क्या डेवलपमेंट है, ग्रोथ आगे कैसी रहेगी, फ्यूचर प्लान क्या है कंपनी के, इन सब पर हम विस्तार से बात करेंगे। हमारे साथ जुड़ चुके हैं कंपनी के CFO सुशांत पाई साहब। मिस्टर पाई सर, गुड आफ्टरनून, बहुत स्वागत है आपका जी बिजनेस पे। सर, सबसे पहले तो ये जो खबर चल रही है इसी पर आपकी क्लैरिटी चाहेंगे। जो कांस्टेंट तनातनी बनी रहती है कंपनी के ऐप और गूगल के बीच में, अब फिर से आपको रिस्टोर किया गया है, तो एज वी स्पीक नाउ मौजूदा स्थिति क्या है सर, जरा ये साफ कर दीजिए।
Thank you, Neha. Thank you for having me here. Good afternoon. And thank you to all the viewers as well. See, this Google issue is a very important issue. As we speak, there are different dimensions to it, and I'll explain. First, the case is lying pending at the Supreme Court. So that is one thing. It is still under hearing, so the verdict is still not out. The second is the case is also pending at the Competition Commission of India at CCI. Meanwhile, what Google did is they delisted the apps on Friday, saying that we are not compliant with their billing policy. But I'll explain what they want us to do. So they're saying that if customers pay outside the app ke bahar pay karenge, so no commission, which means you don't need to pay us any commission. However, if the customer pays within the app, then we need to pay 11 to 15% commission to Google. And that is what we are fighting for at all forums, saying that companies like us, which are very small, at least, we have, we are listed, we are at a particular size, but just imagine much smaller companies and startups having to pay 11 to 15% of their revenues to Google is very exorbitant, and therefore that is the case we are fighting for. So as we speak, only about 20 of our apps have been restored into the Google Play Store. It has come back. That is because we have said, okay, we will choose the model for now, which is the consumption model, where we take the customers outside the app. So if you take the customers outside the app, then the Google is willing to restore the app. However, as we speak, still close to or even more than 150 apps of ours are still not being listed in the Google Store. So that's the fight we are going ahead with, and we have to see how this pans out. Obviously the legal battle will take its own course.
Okay.
As we speak, the government of India has also called for a meeting today with all the startups as well as Google. We are hoping that something will come out this week, which can be, some direction towards how this will all pan out, though it is.
Okay.
Other thing is only few companies are getting affected. So what they say is, if you're a digital service provider, you get affected. So it's not some bigger companies are getting affected by this. So that's our thing, saying that why are you affecting only companies like ours? Why are you discriminating companies like ours?
Okay.
So that's the fight that is going on. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But from a financial perspective, on a prudence basis, we've already made some estimate and provided for it, which is what we have disclosed also to the stock exchange.
तो ये जो कोर्ट में अभी मामला चल रहा है, इसका प्राइमरी डिस्प्यूट पॉइंट यही है, या इसके अलावा भी और कोई पॉइंट्स हैं जिस पर अभी बातचीत होना या पॉइंट ऑफ कंटेंशन है?
So mainly that's the thing, saying that Google should not discriminate. Google should not use monopoly to to people like us to say that you just sign an agreement and you pay 11%, 15%. For some people, even it can go as high as 26%. So that's the main situation, saying that they're not doing any major service. See, for example, we already pay a commission like 1% to 3% to other players. If I have to use Razorpay, for example, I do pay the commission. So our question is, why are you charging something more? We are already paying something for the payments. So what is that special that you're doing to charge us even more, and that to as high as anywhere between 11 to 26%? depending on the nature of the company you are.
हाय सर, आपके हिसाब से एक ऑप्टिमम कमीशन लेवल क्या होना चाहिए विच गूगल एज अ प्लेटफॉर्म शुड अप्लाई? और भारत सरकार के सामने आज आपने कहा कि आपकी वहां बैठक हो रही है, तो क्या पॉइंट्स आप सामने रखने वाले हैं, क्या एक्सपेक्टेड है?
Yeah. So, see, we are saying that, the commission should be based on market forces. It should not be just a random percentage. Like, for example, I gave you an example saying that now we pay anywhere between 1%, 2%, 3%. So we are saying the markets should determine what sort of commission should be paid. What we have in front of government of India is that also saying that, just by taking the customer outside the app, impact ho sakta hai, revenue impact can be there. There could be revenue losses, customers, there could be a friction. Because in-app payment is easier than taking somebody through a link and asking them to pay outside. So all we are trying to tell the government is companies like us need a level playing field. We should not be discriminated. And we are dependent on the Android ecosystem. So that's our proposal in front of the government, saying that, it cannot discriminate, it cannot be exorbitant. And why is only certain companies like ours getting discriminated? So that's the proposal to the government. And though there is a matter pending before the Supreme Court as well as the CCI, we are trying to put forward the proposal to government to make sure that it can be expedited. The whole, issue can be expedited. Maybe they can come with some better solution in all of this. So that's our expectation.
अच्छा सर, आपने रेवेन्यू लॉसेस की बात की, कितना नुकसान झेलना पड़ रहा है सर इस कारण से? क्योंकि मेरा अगला सवाल आपके Q3 रिजल्ट्स को लेकर होगा, तो अगर आप ये पहले एक्सप्लेन कर पाते।
Yeah, so see, revenue losses because because the app was not there for 1 or 2 days, is a very intermittent loss. We don't know, we are yet to see, because we have to see how the consumption model works. We have to see what is the outcome of today, what is the strategy we will adopt to make sure that there are no revenue losses. But our foremost concern is that we are making sure that there is no customer impact, because on already downloaded apps, there is no issue. It is only for the new customers it's going to impact. So we are looking at all possible avenues to make sure that the customer impact is protected. From a Q3 perspective, there was no issue of apps being delisted. So from that perspective, there was no issue. However, there are two things. Q3 itself was a seasonal quarter for us. So therefore, revenue growth was muted. Still, we grew, on matchmaking about 6.7%, and our profitability was still maintained. But from a losses perspective, I would say that our profitability could have been higher by at least 300 basis points if we had not provided for the Google fee. Approximately 3% higher than, in terms of margins. From a PAT margins perspective, it could have been higher.
ओके। अच्छा सर, गोइंग फॉरवर्ड मैं जानना चाह रही थी कि अब कौन से ग्रोथ एरियाज, ये तो एक मैटर असाइड हो गया, ये जब सॉर्ट आउट होगा तब ऑफ कोर्स हम आपसे रीच आउट करेंगे, लेकिन अब कौन से की ग्रोथ फैक्टर्स रहने वाले कंपनी के लिए जो नए वित्त वर्ष में FY25 में फोकस करेंगे?
So we are still, in the midst of our strategy and planning cycle as we go along, and we'll have better clarity in, sometime in May in terms of how FY25 will pan out. But we have various strategies that we want to, finalize and make sure that we grow faster than what we have grown here. So some of the areas that we are concentrating on, one is that, personalized services. We are giving more impetus to personalized services. For example, I think you would have noticed we have set up some airport kiosks in 2 or 3 airports in India to make sure that we are visible and we get more leads in elite matrimony. So that's a focus area as well for us. The second thing is, if you remember that 2 years back, we had started something called Jodi. Jodi is in 9 vernacular languages. So we are going to, see, and that has shaped up very well. So we may invest a little more in Jodi and make sure that, our traction increases there. So some of the areas that, we also want to look at is a couple of these that I mentioned. It could be the main areas for our growth in the coming year.
वेरी वेल पाय सर, थैंक यू सो मच हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए और मैटर पर क्लैरिटी देने के लिए, एंड ऑफ कोर्स आगे के ग्रोथ एरियाज पर फोकस करने के लिए।